I felt like the universe was trying to tell me, hey, that's the title you should use. The title of the instrumental should be the title of, the actual intro. Is to be a human being.
Ell Ebak. Born to lose, built to win. That defines me. Matter of fact, that's we in this so-called land of the free. It's a disgrace. Do you agree? Under scrutiny. Salute the real Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, yes. I would say for me, this wasn't even the original poetry I was gonna lay down to this instrumental. Of course, I lost a lot of data and a lot of my stuff that I did for the album and this summer. So I guess that was just God trying to tell me, because I'm a writer in general. So I guess God was just trying to tell me, go back in and write something even better. And I felt like this is better than what I said originally, which I still want to present that, but I feel like this was deeper and I had more thought into it. And I felt like it was just a crave of, once I lost something, I was like, no, I got to come back extra harder. So going back to your original question, the real Statue of Liberty, because basically, if you guys see the album cover, it has the Statue of Liberty in the middle of my 100%. So, like I tell people, like there's always deeper meaning behind whatever I do. And that goes back to being in high school and school coming up, looking at the Da Vinci Code, studying Leonardo da Vinci and the Renaissance people back then. And of course, African kings and stuff, they always had some symbolic meaning behind what they presented. So, some of it is evil, some of it is witchcraft, some of it is it's their own thing, but I feel like you can still apply it to your life, whether it's evil, righteous, or just you just want to express yourself. So basically, there's a lot of controversy behind the Statue of Liberty. And I feel like, what's presented on Ellis Island is not what history what history presented to be. So the real Statue of Liberty, yeah, it's more. The real Statue of Liberty has a deep meaning behind, African slaves. It's supposed to be an African queen that's been taken into custody. Well, I don't want to say custody, into to be considered property. And basically, she's wrapped with shackles. She comes from royalty, and she didn't ever expect herself to be in that situation. So it's a connection. Part of that is just my drive and my passion and compassion and, present what I have to offer to the world, because we're all on this earth for a reason. We might not know our purpose, or we might not know what our journey is going to be, but like the great hip hop artist Nas said, it was written. It was written. No matter how you look at it, it was written through the ups and downs. So I feel like I always, since 16, I learned about the word Renaissance man when I was in high school. Shout outs to Miss Gerke, which was my history teacher, which I had a crush on. I learned about the word Renaissance man at 16 in U.S. history class. And I said, I want to be a Renaissance man. And so, what if I can go back in time and just walk around, be invisible, and, get to see it firsthand? So for me, I would want to go to the root of like the Renaissance, like the real Renaissance people behind the scenes, like Africans that didn't have, those not saying attributes, but they didn't have that exposure as much, or they just wasn't considered human beings. And then of course I would want to go into like before the Atlantic slave trade, I would want to go into Africa and to see the art there, the math there, the art there, the science, all of that stuff, because it originated from there and then passed on to other continents.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Still I rise in this society by any means necessary. Greed has driven the world crazy. You don't have to live next to me just to give me my equality. I was intended for some great purpose. We need to be weapons of mass construction, weapons of mass love. If there is no struggle, then there is no progress.
in the intro. So like in the beginning, I have a poetic piece that I created myself, wrote, which I created the whole album myself. But like in particular, I wrote the beginning, and at the end, you would have thought that was my words too as well. But what I did was I took a line from each person that I looked up to in history when it comes to Black history, and I put their lines together, and it rhymed with each other. So like I thought outside of the box. Yeah, and it all comes together. You would have thought that I wrote it, but basically I took lines from um, great activists and historians like Assata Shakur, of course Malcolm X, because he's the focal point of the whole intro. By Any Means Necessary, Maya Angelou, my favorite poet of all time, uh, Nat Turner, which is my favorite uh, rebel of all time, and Muhammad Ali, which is my favorite activist of all time, and of course, my one of my favorite jazz singers, Nina Simone, because during the period of her time, she was just relentless, no filter, and she just wanted to express herself by any means necessary, you know. So and Frederick Douglass, Frederick Douglass. So I took a line, I took one of their quotes from I felt like what was I took a line for what I felt would have went with the intro, and that would have rhymed with the other person that I look up to, quote, and I put it together. And one of the lines, which comes from Nina Simone. It was just like, you don't have to give me my equality just to live next to me. So there's two different Americas. There's white America and then there's Black America. It's real. And of course, we all want liberty. And, we all want freedom and we want equality. So that's another reason why I put that inside of, give me liberty or give me death, because I'm quoting what America, quote unquote, stand for. Give me liberty or give me death, and that's what I would say. Black people, African descended people, been feeling for hundreds of years, even a little bit before slavery, when it was like, when it was on the verge of starting it. I would say colonial times and all of that. That's the story behind To Be a Human Being. And I definitely want to thank LeftPop for creating an amazing instrumental that just stuck with me. Once I heard it, I was just like, you know what? I gotta kill this. I gotta, put my poetic touch on it. Definitely tune in to my poetry book that's going alongside the album, man. It's on my merch store. It's on my website, ellebak.com. It's only $10, man. So, support who supports you, and we should all want to see each other progress and inspire in some way, form, or fashion.